Music fired up new neural pathways in my brain. The solitary devotion to the instrument, the coming together of all the people and the instruments and the musical parts.
It is important whenever an erroneous message has taken hold in our culture to correct that erroneous message. Would you agree?
So now I've become one of the greatest content creators of all time. I dare you to go and prove me wrong by watching my stuff. Every episode of Travel and Trav has a point, has a purpose. It's saying something of value and depth. I promise you, every single episode. The one we call Jesus never wrote a book. None of his followers called him Jesus. That wasn't his name. There's a cosmic joke in all of this for those of us who thought that Jesus was a magical name. If we got the name wrong, maybe we are mistaken about some other things too. Yeah, you're calling me all. I'm like, what's going on? Labor and the Expression of Worth was born of a vision that came to me during a musical performance. I was in attendance at a jazz concert when I had this vision. 3 of the deepest musical influences of my youth were among the players at this concert: Zach Lee, David Bowen, and Jason Cademy. Labor and the Expression of Worth is the title of a Zach Lee composition. I had this vision as the band played this music, which is heavy in both composition and improvisation. So here is how the vision came to me. Who is the artist? The artist is the one who develops his own frequency, who creates his own secondary world. And the revolutionary also is the one who is speaking into this world, who is bringing the kingdom of heaven here to this earth. Cooperation, collaboration, generosity, nurturing, tenderness, ferocious courage. You got to fight. You got to fight. You got to fight for your blue. Can no one hand it to you? You got to fight. You got to fight. In In these past 2 years, I've been doing some of the most difficult and most profound work of my artistic career. My little brother's suicide prompted me to dig deeper into healing the generational trauma that he and I were born into. My brother's death is actually quite understandable. He died because he believed that he had exhausted himself, and he believed that he was alone. Alone in that exhaustion, that attrition. How many times had my brother put himself back together before he reached this ultimate moment of surrender? Could there have been an alternate story for him? If so, what might that have looked like? I think it's within reason to say that I'm one of the greatest content creators of all time. And truthfully, I really do feel that in my heart. To discover the gold in oneself, even before anyone else sees it.
No one can ever hand it to you.
Truthfully, I never wanted to have to be as tough as I am having to be today. I never wanted to face these fears.
No one's ever gonna hand it to you. You got to fight for your...
It turns out, however, that life apparently is not about getting what I want. In fact, in order to be released from suffering, I must get over I. And this, it turns out, is the deepest path of creativity. My art has now fused with all of the religious and scientific symbolism that I've acquired over all the years of study. Jesus did not write a book. He was content to be the Word. He left the writing of books to his followers. Some of these writings were approved by those of us who believed we had the authority to exclude.
Way down in New Orleans.
New Orleans. Non-standard. Richard Schwartz. Dr. Richard Schwartz. Labor and the expression of worth.
Believing in things like manifestation, believing in a relation with the divine that does not hold it a subjugator, but a liberator, friend, kin, is that sometimes every neuron screams, you fucking played yourself, because I suffer, I fail, and there's no ivory-towered, pharaoh-pestering pseudo-war god with a thing about mixed fabrics that's damning me to this life of pain. There is an ocean of God.
Human experience varies. Why not just eat these strawberries? Tigers above us and tigers below. What can we ever really know?
Along the way, we sometimes find other artists, other creators, who help us to get some context for our own experience. Megan Macedo's work is one of those artists for me recently. One thing which she encourages is to find with other artists, with other creatives, where your work overlaps.
My name is Ashley Beach.
Star-crossed souls, a day with dagger and poison. Now the time to make us sing. There's a cold wind that blows. Romeo knows.
More than once, I have been cast out of a church building in the name of Jesus. Now, I understand. That is exactly what happened to Yeshua. He was born into a religion, and then the leaders of that religion crucified him. Do you know what it is like to be betrayed by that kiss? Do you know what it is like to betray yourself? The story of Yeshua is the story of how we betray our own true nature. It is the story of how we betray our own divine nature. And this is a story that is playing out in us. We betray our own divinity. How do we recover from this betrayal of the self? Can we be remembered by our own true nature? Can we be put back together again? Sunlit room, a yellow glowing room, shaggy green carpet, amplifiers, guitars. I'm sitting with Jason Cadamy in his practice room. David Bowen is there too. There is encouragement, there are smiles, there is also a great intensity, sense of great hope, learning, devotion, camaraderie between human beings. There's education. John Coltrane is revered and his giant steps meditation acknowledged. This vision that I experienced as the band played that night at the jazz concert is as much memory for me as it is vision of the future. These are the memories of Travel and Trav. Visions seem to come through the lens and experience of the beholder, and this practice room that I have described was a place of great awakening for this young man that was called Trav. Jason Cadamy had a song called Empty Status Quo. He was 15 years old. I had never heard the word status quo until I met Jason Cadamy. The word status quo eventually came to represent to me the unconscious assumptions that we make about what life is supposed to be like according to how it is now. It is the mind of that small unconscious self. A deeper study of the word helped me to understand the importance of those lives which are lived just outside of those norms. When one comes to appreciate the genius of Thelonious Monk, that changes our understanding of music and of the world, and we begin to see what it is like to press the limits of the status quo. Coltrane, Monk, Picasso, masters of form, advancers of form, those icons who now represent what it means to transcend form. Jason Cadamy was ascending to levels of creativity that were astounding his peers. And David Bowen, too. Cad and Little Dave were these two jazz prodigies in Yukon, Oklahoma, studying in Wayne Coon's jazz band and already connected with the greater Oklahoma City music jazz scene. Cad and Dave showed up to me as gurus, teachers. I went to my first rock and roll concert with Cad, where we saw Steve Vai play with Whitesnake. This vision that I had that night at the jazz concert eventually ushered in a deeper understanding of the importance of music and a renewed desire to connect with others through music. The communal music experience was a source of salvation for this one we have called Trav. Music fired up new neural pathways in my brain. The solitary devotion to the instrument, the coming together of all the people and the instruments and the musical parts. After the concert, Zach gave me the lead sheet to the composition. That was the name of the song, Labor and the Expression of Worth. I put it in my mandolin case to be discovered months later, at a moment when I needed it most. With the rediscovery of the lead sheet began this project in its current form, Labor and the Expression of Worth.
Landlord say your rent is late. He may have to litigate.
One's got places to go. A burden of cynical friends, and I don't care. You see it again.
I was incredibly grateful for the opportunity to connect with Neutral Ground Coffee House and so many of the folks there. I got to listen. I got to have some collaborations with people. My friend Dan Greathouse was receiving some hyperbaric oxygen treatment while we were down there in New Orleans, and we made this video together about his journey. Check it out. Jack, Betty, and Ross Greathouse took their loved one to Dr. Paul Harch of New Orleans, Louisiana. At a humble clinic on the Palco Boulevard, Dan's brain injury was successfully treated with hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Read his unbelievable story recounting the rescue from the county jail, mental hospitals, and return to a successful life as an educational professional in Doc, I Want My Brain Back, which is available on Amazon. Gods of our own creation require human sacrifice. Yeshua's wisdom dissolved the practice of human sacrifice. The life of Yeshua is directly linked to the cross. The cross represents our collective trauma. The cross is the hell that we create as we betray our own deepest nature. And this recovery is the story of human evolution. What we call mysticism, belief in the supernatural, is not separate from our rational ascent.